What I'd love to do is really dive into our discussion now. And what I'd like to first hear is how has learning about being an evaluator changed your life? What were things like before you knew you were an evaluator? And how has learning this information made a difference for you? And in addition to that, also tying in what I just talked about with the evaluator, including being in the right place or the right location. So what I'm going to do is just call on each of you just so we can hear each of your perspectives. And why don't we start with Brad? Would you like to start us off, Brad?
Sure, can do, Karen. Yep. Thanks very much. So finding out that I was an evaluator has and continues to serve as confirmation for me. Being an evaluator and not knowing it, life was from childhood was very difficult. In fact, way back when, probably sometime in the 90s, I went and I did some rebirthing in a modality. And in that rebirthing, I actually saw my birth and my mother, and saw the nurses at the time handing me to my mother. And my mother literally said out loud, "What do I do with this?" And that was sort of my experience of life. And so, as I said, I moved through life. It was very difficult because I was really, really different than everybody. I would get, as a youngster and into my teens, I would get very upset around crowds, family functions. And what I did was, and I started at a very young age, I just started to disappear. And my family, and I'm talking about extended family, being aunts, uncles, cousins, etc., they got used to it. And when I would get upset, which I now know I was picking up the energy of the entire group, I would leave, go for a walk, do whatever, and I would be able to get settled down within myself and then return and be able to act relatively normal. So they got used to that, and even as a teenager, when we would have cousins who lived in other provinces or in the States or somewhere would show up, and I would do my thing like disappear. They'd say, "Oh, what's happening there?" And they said, "Oh, never mind, just leave him alone. He does that. He'll be back. He'll be fine." And so it was very, very difficult. And as I already said, moving from school, and school for me was a waste of time. I know Emma said she excelled at it. I could have excelled at it. They couldn't keep my interest. I didn't, in school for me, it was very social, and it was just a place to go and hang out and have fun. And but moving from that into the work world was very difficult. Because I was always so different, never kind of fit in anywhere. And so that fitting in is very, very important. And so finding out I was an evaluator about 3 years ago or so, it just serves as confirmation for me. All the things that I learned about an evaluator and all the things about the design that I have just confirms for me all the experiences that I've had over all the years. And so it's been a wonderful experience. So I thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Brad. Yeah. And let's go to Carolina.
Hi. So my answer is that I always knew I am brilliant, intelligent, and beautiful, but I never knew why. After I had a reading and getting to know that I'm an evaluator, it became obvious. So I'm enjoying my gift. But on a more serious note, I think I was always surprised that people do not see things as I see. For example, for me, some things are obvious when I'm in a room, and it always puzzles me why he is not doing this, why she is not doing that. It would work better for everyone if people behave in a certain way, but people don't. They don't do this, so it will always tend to puzzle me. And now I'm sort of getting to realize that this is my unique perspective as evaluator, and people just do not know this, what I do. So I'm still learning basically to appreciate my uniqueness in the real world.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you, Carolina. And
Thank
yeah, I
you.
think it's something really important is that that you don't see things in the same way that we would see things as as a builder or an advisor or as an innovator. That you see things in a completely different
Yeah,
way.
that's true.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And let's go to Connor.
Thank you, Karen. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. I see you, so I don't know.
Yes, we can see you.
Life before human design for me was challenging. And I came to realize that until I entered onto my individual inner knowing and trusting, which actually happened for me a long time ago, that I would take on, what in the human design world we call the conditioning of the world around me and the people. And I found that I would go be with that group, and it's as though I was the most involved person there, and then I would leave it, and then I'd leave it behind, and then I'd go another place, and I was the most involved and could understand and tag in, and then I'd leave it. And it was as though the door opened and closed depending on where I was and how often, and then the effect of it. So I will say that my younger years were problematic, and which seems to be true for all evaluators, reflectors I've come across and talked to over time. And at the same time, I've come to realize that I had a father in particular, more than my mother, who actually somehow recognized me and supported me in my exploration endeavors. And we would have very deep, in-depth conversations. So that was nurtured in me over a long period of time, as well as very extensive experiences close to nature, which became the foundation for my life in the wilderness and understanding all that. When I came across my design as an evaluator in the late 90s, which was still pretty young in the human design template, right, going out in the world, it helped me understand so much about one, how life seemed to flow through me, and also began reinforced, confirmed for me why the river had long been a metaphor for my life. And I used to, take people in the wilderness and run rivers and all that. That said, it also confirmed for me why I could see patterns coming down the pike and participate in them early, such as in the 70s, I was hanging out with indigenous elders, and I was at Esalen Institute and doing Tai Chi and meditation and, I Ching and on and on and on. And everyone around me thought I was very weird. And now a lot of it's mainstream, right? So meanwhile, as things have come into focus or implemented, not so much by me, but by others, I will have moved on to something that is, once again, more leading edge. The difficulty I've had throughout my life has been that often I see things or I recognize things and I bring the news back, and people might listen to me or not. More often they wouldn't. Until they'd come back 5, 10, 15 years later and say, oh, now I understand what you're talking about. However, the times that people somehow heard me, I came to realize that I had difficulty implementing it, which is part of our challenge in trying to fit into the world. We can see things, we can know things, we can recognize things, both big patterns as well as Carolina was saying, in the room. Well, if this were done, it's almost like we can see the thread of cause and effect from the higher elevation or the more refined perspective. And most everyone around us is still rearranging the furniture in the room and thinking, wow, this is really great, it's new. And we're saying, well, no, there are other rooms, and there's more to consider. So finding human design was instrumental in confirming how I could see things and why I was discarded, parked in the corner, blown off, not recognized. And it is hard I will say it is hard for us, and it's been hard for me to stay and have the tenacity to stay in places where we're not recognized, not valued, not compensated well. People don't know what to do with us. And the last thing I would say is I know a lot of the views and design and all of that is that we're here to reflect other people. And I would say to a certain degree, I rather feel we are here to download news of what's going on in the cosmos. And we're more like translators down into everyday life if given half a chance. And that in the workplace or in group dynamics, if we are asked for our insight, the measure is, does someone really want to hear what we have to say, or is it sort of they just sort of want to hear a little bit from us? And we give a very different answer if we can tell that somebody actually wants in-depth information, or they just sort of we're a voice in the room, or because we're different or whatever. And that's part of the measure of what people will receive from us. And I can say in terms of the environment, it's taken me a lifetime, but I am finally in an environment, as an example, where a woman that she calls me her spiritual mentor of 20 years. She works with entrepreneurial women. This is an example of being in the correct environment. And she respects that I'm at the time of life where I'm at. And she has created this whole platform. She's a classic builder. And she brings, all the clients in. And she has presented me basically as a wisdomer, as well as, a human design BG5 person. And so I get to work with clients from those different aspects. And basically, I get to show up and be myself. And, as we've worked a few years together, there are more and more people coming on, into the business, not just because of her work, but because of my presence there. And so that's been a confirming, of my value. I also, thanks for giving me, each of us this time, but I also want to say that to me, one of the things that's special about this panel is, one, we've been conferring with each other for over a year, and we're pretty close to 3 generations, so that when we talk amongst our experiences, the view that Brad and I have, because, we have many decades under our belt, and then, Emma and Carolina and Tina, we have very different generational views, and we're all learning to value them and appreciate them. And we also are from different cultures around the world. So we're really learning at deep levels, and we're exploring and confirming each other and calling each other out. And that, to me, has been the most valuable of my Evaluator Reflector experiences. And I've had a few over the last 20 years, and they've not been fruitful or meaningful for me. And so I'm just excited for us all to be together here, and appreciate the opportunity that we can speak in the moment, the now, which is It's how we move in the world. The Hopis called it be the hollow bone. We are the hollow bone.
Mm. Mm. So beautiful, and so many just rich nuggets that Connor just shared. So thank you so much, Connor. I love your wisdom.
Thank you.
And yes, and let's hear from Tina, and then we'll go to Emma, and then we'll move on to the next question as well.
Hey, okay. I just heard about what Connor said, and it's really lovely. And my answer for this question is I have asked my mom, and my mom said I was a very wicked and a smart kid, but it's still very hard to define myself, and I found myself very special and very different from others. I changed my mind very quickly and couldn't feel a stable condition for my daily life operations because it's always change. I I think I am beloved by my family, so I feel very comfortable in the middle of the family, but outside of the world is totally different. I was very confused. Confused about why I cannot just like others and to fitting into the groups. So until my friends just introduced human design to me, and she found out I'm a evaluator, I'm surprised and curious why I don't have any definition and I don't have any strengths. So I used to stay in the condition of trying very hard for everything. Trying to answer other questions and want to make sure for everything which I cannot sure. And I want to grab attention, looking for identity and the direction, which is not belong to me actually. And I want to prove myself, afraid to fight or argue with others. So I think I doing very hard when I feel the pressure. It seems like I want to be someone who is not me. So that's the challenge. So
Yeah.
it wastes my energy a lot. So it's also hurting my mind and body. So being an evaluator, I think look back for the young age, it's very exhausting and it's very confusing. I think I am in the first place to focus on what I am not. Yeah, at the first beginning, I just focus on what is not who I am. So it's quite an interesting progress because that's kind of the base of who I am right now.
Right.
And then I learn about human design, so realize it's very normal because I don't have any strengths. So if I feel unsure about everything and I don't know who I am, it's because I'm an evaluator. So that's normal and that's okay. All the unstable and the fear inside of me, it is real because the empathy is okay for me, and the empathy just makes who I am. That's what I learned about being an evaluator. And after that, I stopped comparing with other people, and I start the journey for discovering myself and understand being nothing, which means I can receive everything. That's quite cool for me. And my life changed a little bit when I noticed my non-self mind because they are always talking to me. So when I realize and I find out, oh, it's mind talking, I can stop, let go, and feel life is more easily when I didn't focus on the I can say wrong part.
Right.
Yeah. So the information just let me understand I'm very special, but everybody is very special. But through this information, I discover myself, and through this discover, I also get to know what other types are. Then I can respect them, and also I hope they can respect all the evaluators. So yeah, life changed a little bit through this information, and I quite love it right now. Thanks.
I love what you just said, Tina. It's really spot on, and I think this is something for all of us, no matter what your career type is. When you really discover your design, you take it just like what Tina was talking about. You try to be what you're not. And that can be very exhausting, and it can really have you struggle in life. And you can hear from all of their stories this bit of struggle in not really understanding ourselves. And I think it's true no matter what career type you are. But especially those for the evaluator, because they see things in a completely different way. And I love how what you were saying, Tina, is that really in truly understanding who you are, you really see the magnificence, because in seeing all of the openness, it also allows you to connect to everything. It's just really, really beautiful. Thank you so much, Tina. And Emma.
Yes. I apologize if there's construction noise in the background. I don't have any control over that. So I'll do what I can.
Don't hear any at the moment.
Okay. I can hear it. Yeah, so you wanted me to answer the last question?
Yeah.
Finding out being an evaluator. I can hear so much of my own story and what everybody else has said. There's aspects of all in everybody's story that ring true for me. I mean, my mother, I'm the eldest of four, and my mother, despite having four preschool age children, found the time to take a childhood psychology course to try and figure out what the heck I was, because she could tell I was different, but she didn't know what it was. So, it's obvious to some parents when they get this evaluator child dropped in on their life that there's something different going on. And I mean, you look at my baby pictures and, most babies are these plump, happy, smiling things. And I look like an angry old man, like, I don't want to be here. I don't like this. So yeah, there was something different from the outset. And as far as, reflecting what was going on around in being in a certain environment, I got labeled as the overly emotional one in the family. Well, it turns out I was surrounded by 5 emotionally defined people. But I was the emotional one.
Taking it in and amplifying it, right?
Amplified it, and literally giving people back what they were putting out and not having a way to control that process or filter it. Like, I was a literal punching bag for my father. He would tell me I was an evil piece of shit because whatever I was doing was giving him this message back to himself of how he felt about himself. So reflectors do not have an easy time.
Yeah.
Evaluators, do not have an easy time necessarily in childhood when people around them are not healthy themselves. I think the childhood experience that an evaluator has and the amount of conditioning they have to deal with really has to do with the environment they're being raised in and the healthiness of the people in that environment. And as far as discovering I was an evaluator, there's that when you discover you're an evaluator, but then there's all the deconditioning that has to happen, right? Like for any of you on this call who are thinking or are consultants, right? Like who you meet, when you meet an evaluator for the first time and tell them they're an evaluator, they probably won't look like an evaluator. They'll probably be doing a good job of pretending to be a generator, a builder, or really trying hard to be an innovator, right? Maybe a few of them are lucky enough that they grew up in an environment where they could be an advisor and not have to be busy all the time. But, there's the I still see that there's areas of my life where I've been deeply conditioned and I'm having to undo it or let it go. But at the same time, there's always been a certain, as Carolina was saying, I would look around and I couldn't understand why people couldn't see what was so blatantly obvious to me. Like I still can't understand why the world looks the way it looks, because to me it's so obvious that it doesn't work for everybody. And maybe that's what Ra was talking about being the sign of ultimate justice. Because to me, as long as the world doesn't work for everybody, it's not working for anybody. And that's why we still need to keep going on stuff. And hopefully, as evaluators get more of a voice, or at least get recognized, maybe we'll head in that direction. But it's a bit of one and the other, right? As Connor was saying, like, we can get overlooked so easily and become invisible. And Brad said we shut down to protect ourselves. That we have to be in a high enough vibration environment for us to be seen, and then we can raise it even further. Sort of, there's a chicken and egg thing that can go on a bit, and maybe that's part of the life path of an evaluator to get to the maturity level where Connor and Brad are now, where maybe they can go into those environments and work to raise them up, whereas I might not be at that point yet, either because of age or because of the conditioning I still carry or what. But there's been a growth that I've seen over time.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. Thank you for that, Emma. Really beautifully shared.